Uh, well, I think I've spoken to everybody. Mayra, you were just coming on when I spoke, and I said, "Hey," but I don't think you had signed in yet. It's good to see you. Um,
Yeah.
I hope some of the others will join in. I do know that Mandy was going to try, but her husband has surprised her. It's her anniversary, and he surprised her, and she didn't know it with some special tickets for a concert, and it related back to when they met, and it's
Oh,
her anniversary. So I told her, I said, enjoy what your husband's doing for you. So, but she was going to try, uh, but I don't blame her. I probably wouldn't worry about this if my spouse was doing something for me either. So, but anyway, well, welcome to the our last class. It's bittersweet for me, um, but I just want to say, I am so proud of where all of you are, and I just checked. And Elizabeth, when you're still working on that last little bit, and when you get that in there, and we understand that, when you get that in there, I want to say congratulations to everybody. Everything has been successfully submitted to Task String from this class. And yours will be no problem, Elizabeth. It will be in there. I am so proud of you. Uh, once I got past that last push that I gave, all of you just rose to the occasion, and I couldn't be more proud of you. It's just wonderful. And the only thing that's left is what we talk about tonight. Listening to Dr. Lamb at 7 o'clock and coming back and doing your reflection on that. And once you get that in, don't hold out on it. Go ahead and get it done and get it to me and get it over with, and you'll be through. Okay. So, it's not rocket science. I just have to have evidence that you've listened and that you gained something from what he said. That's what I need. So, don't give me a dissertation. I don't want to read one. Okay. I'm like you. I'm ready for a little break. So, um, on this as well. But anyway, but a job well done. I'm very, very, and I mean this, I'm very proud of each and every one of you. Just know that I will always be one of your strongest advocates. I had a student that I taught probably 5, 6 years ago, and she reached out to me this week, and she said, "I don't know if you remember me." I do. I said, "I do. I remember all my students." And but Deamber is in the doctoral program, and she is at the proposal stage, and she has asked me if I would serve on her dissertation committee, and that's just an honor. So, as you are making other steps and leaps in your careers, if there's anything that I can do after this, I'm always a phone call away. You've got my information. Do not hesitate to call me. I want to help you. Okay. And when good things happen, feel free to pick up the phone and say, "Dr. Stedman, I just wanted to share with you what just happened. I want to celebrate with you." Or send me an email or something, of that nature. But please stay in touch after this. Don't let this be the end. And I hope that they always have graduation whenever we are, except for one time, they have graduation. When your graduation it'll be in December. And they always have graduation on that Friday when we are doing our Christmas musical at church, and it's always that Friday, Saturday, matinee, and then Sunday. They always do that, and it's just it's difficult for me to step away from that. I was able to do it last year, but I'm going to look at it and see what I can do. But chances are I will not be able to be there because of my commitment to that, and that's a big part of my life. And I that's part what I enjoy doing. And sometimes you just have to do things because it's the right thing for you. And I hope you will take that advice as well. But anyway, with that in mind, I want to just, we're going to start off with, it's going to be, it won't be long tonight. And then once you sign off, make sure you sign in back at 7 o'clock, for Dr. Lamb. Chances are it'll be about 30 minutes. With Dr. Lamb, you don't know. Sometimes he gets started and it could be longer, but we're hoping for 30 minutes. You know what I'm talking about. We love Dr. Lamb, but we know it may be 30 minutes, but then if he's got other things to say, Dr. Lamb's going to say it. So, and that's okay. He's the boss. He can say it. But we're going to talk about, I've already shared with you, don't need to talk about task stream or anything else like that. Great job again. We're going to talk about case study 3. I hope it leads into some of the things like we did last time when we were talking about the federal impact aid forms, and then Renee was able to share in some of her knowledge and expertise, being federally connected herself, and that it leads into other things. So if you see something that this can lead into, the topic that you're going to talk about is very relevant in what we do in education today. So, I just want you to just be open-minded with it and, say what you need to say. And then, and I pray it works. If it doesn't, you're going to have to stare at it. It's worked for me every time. Have a little presentation to share with you at the end. And if any of your family members are around, when we get to that point, invite them to come and sit with you, okay? That's the way it's going to be. So with that in mind, I've already talked with Daryl. Daryl had the surgery the last time, and I told her that we would make up for that by letting her start off with, that's what you get for having surgery. But anyway, I said we would let Daryl take the lead on this, and she's just going to just recap in just a few words the case study, and then she's going to open up with her take on, some of the best takeaways from what she learned from that. And then we're going to go round robin, and there's no right or wrong. Let's see what direction it takes us in. But just feel free to do like we did last time. That was one of my favorite classes. I enjoyed that a lot. So Daryl, I'm going to turn it over to you, and let's just get started.
Thank you so much. All right, case study 3. I related to case study 3 out of all the case studies that we've done, because we actually have a child in our building who has sickle cell anemia. So Mrs. Brown has 3 children. Because of sickle cell anemia, they are required to have, they need nurse care, assigned nurse care for 24 hours. Mrs. Hill was assigned to one of her children, Joshua, and they required through transportation to have that nursing assistance. And Mrs. Hill wasn't on time, really wasn't relating to Joshua. So Miss Brown advocated for her child, and Miss Hill was transferred. But that left an 8-week period for a replacement for Joshua not to have someone. So Miss Brown was like, I'll just keep him at home. And then the principal of the school left for a conference. So they put us in charge. And so they found, we found an assistant that could travel from home to school. And there was a suggestion to the EC director to go with a temporary agency to find nurses who have already been fingerprinted and all of that. They located 3 nurses, and then the EC director said that the HR director had agreed to hire one of the nurses. And then Miss Brown was notified of this. And then within the same week, the assistant director notified me or us and refused to accept that employment. So that was, and then that person wasn't going to tell the parent. I had to notify the parent, or we had to notify the parent. And obviously Miss Brown was upset. So because she was told that things were going to happen so that her son could attend school, and then it didn't happen. And then they had to wait the 8-week period. So she said she was going to go to the board and all of this. So I just related to this. That's not how our child is, but I think my biggest takeaway is communication. I don't know, and obviously I've never been in that role. So with the principal being gone, I questioned having to make that phone call without going through other channels. And I could be wrong, it could be off base, but I think keeping the principal informed and also kind of getting direction in that area. And then it was the director had already agreed, and the assistant director said no. So it's just, for me, my observation was a limited amount of communication between all parties. And so before notifying Miss Brown, I probably would have made sure to contact the appropriate channels to see what we could do for Joshua, because 8 weeks is a long time not to be in school. Even though they do well in school, it's just he needs to be there and he wants to be there.
And
That's
Daryl,
it.
just to piggyback off of that, it reminded me of, you mentioned communication, but the thing that it reminded me of with our school law series, I can't remember if it was Dr. Caton who said it, but she said, you know, when you step in as an AP, you are going to LEA meetings and you are not at the liberty to allocate district level funds. And so it reminded me of the importance of having that open line of communication, because even though this isn't a formal meeting, she is making educational decisions in terms of service for a student with an IEP. And so that kind of connected. That's why I wanted to jump in. I mean, there is a need for communication because we, as assistant principals, cannot make those decisions. So
My question is, why we can't make those decisions? It did say that the mother had addressed it months ago. Why wasn't this not taken care of previously? Why did months go by before something was done? That was what really stood out to me.
Yeah, and just having a child out of school for that long, really that in itself was negligence. That should have never happened. Like the parent should have never had to keep their child home that long. It should have already been dealt with, and they should have done everything in their power to find a substitute or somebody to be in that position so that the child could get the same equitable education that everyone else is receiving.
I definitely see it as grounds for a lawsuit. I mean, because you're in violation of an IEP. And like in my teaching experience, even with simple little things like, you know, you forget to provide an in-class accommodation, and that's a huge deal. So just something small like that can be big. So something really big can look like a lawsuit if that mother really wanted to pursue that. And that was the one thing I kept thinking of, like, this isn't a if we want to take care of it, it's a we have to take care of this. This is like a 911, you know, it's just not we'll figure it out kind of thing.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
and-
like the principal comes back from a vacation kind of thing. Like this is not something you let go unsettled, you know.
Right.
I understand you want to investigate, because just because a parent complained doesn't mean that there's a concern, maybe for the parent, but you want to investigate it. But it did seem that the parent had a legit concern and it was addressed months ago. That's what got me. And then we're waiting until the principal goes away and then comes back, or however the situation unfolds.
I feel like the principal like dumped this on the AP, to be quite honest. I have a feel, if the principal had any kind of background, not, knew about this, case or had concerns about it, why would you, push that off on your AP? That's number one. But then number two, I felt like the AP, was also not complying in the fact that she was looking for an assistant teacher to help with Josh. That was a big standout to me. Like in this role, if there is a medical concern and it has on the care plan that this student needs a nurse, then why are we looking for an assistant teacher? Is this assistant teacher qualified? According to the case study, this student has had medical emergencies. Is this teacher assistant going to know how to deal with that? Are they medically trained? I would say probably not. So there were a lot of things that were, that were off in this case or should not have happened.
There may be others. I know Paulette, you work with special needs at the district level. Julie, you work with, and I mean, that's your extra, come on, chime in, because you probably have dealt with some of these issues.
I think that if the school district knew that it was gonna take 8 weeks to replace the nurse, knowing that that student either has an IEP or a 504 where it says on some plan that the student needs this nursing care, they wouldn't be so quick to transfer the nurse and then let the student stay at home. Instead, kind of take care of it with maybe a plan to be on time instead of putting them in a situation where they're taking a lot of time looking for a contract agency, but then some contract agencies might have clauses that don't agree with the school district. And so that might be why, even though that assistant human resources director didn't go about it the right way and didn't have communication, there could have been a valid reason why they couldn't accept a nurse from that agency.
I just wanted to add that, and I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here, but when we were answering the question about blame, although that director, should have given a reason for not accepting that nurse, I feel like ultimately it falls on the administrators to make sure that that student is, getting the services that they need and should have had, a backup plan, a contingency plan. So there was blame on many levels, but, I think it was as Paula mentioned about like the lawsuit, I think the administration is going to be kind of found at fault for not making sure, because we're the ones that were supposed to be providing a fair and equitable, learning setting. And, we can't say, oh, so-and-so didn't do their job. It's going to fall on administration.
You're right, Mayor. Finish the sentence. Where does the buck stop in a school? At the principal's desk, am I right? And when the principal won't take responsibility for something, where does it stop? Dina, where does it stop?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the
I
question.
said, and when the principal doesn't take full responsibility of things, where does it stop? Where does it go next?
Goes to central office.
Superintendent?
Or goes to the assistant principal. So most of you will start out in that role. So just know that, and you don't know administration that you're going to be working with sometime. Sometimes it could be the best fit, hand in glove fit, but sometimes it's not. So you have to, as an assistant principal, you better be on your P's and Q's, and you need to watch out so that you don't assume responsibility for something that is really not your responsibility.
Dr. Stedman, I almost feel like this should have never fell into the lap of the assistant principal. I felt like it should have been the principal's responsibility and then go to central office. If the principal can't rectify it, a big standout for me was the fact that we have a student that is coming in with sickle cell thalassemia. So I was not aware under the law that each of those students needs to have a care plan in place. So that was something I learned, by reading this case study.
Great, and that's a good point.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Like I felt like the principal was just throwing it off and getting rid of everything when it should have been on the principal and not the AP in the first place.
Right.
I also think it speaks to. Oh, sorry, Malika. I also think it speaks to the fact that what the other real part to me that stood out was the lack of communication within the central office, within the directors, and seeing eye to eye on how those services are going to be provided. And I know that that's also a real world situation. And in terms of, documenting the attempts that we have done as an assistant principal would be important in this situation, because ultimately it could be taken to the board. And I think the board would support the parent and should support the parent.
Malika, what were you saying?
Yes, I agree with everything y'all said. And of course, y'all covered all points and aspects. But I was concerned because a lot of times, when you don't know what your next steps are, you're going to reach out to central office. If a central office is just say, after thinking about this, I decided not to go with it, but then there's no next step. You just kind of left out there to dry. it was like, wow, like, do you not see, the importance in this, that this is vital, this is important. This is something that needs to be handled ASAP. And, as an AP, I would go over that person's head to ensure that that student has, their needs are met.
Agree, Malika, and that's why I'm going to go to Paulette. Paulette, that's why you're at the central office, am I right?
I love listening to all this
Yeah.
because I don't.
Because if I was in Paulette's district and I worked in a school, Paulette probably would be my contact person for issues like this at the central office.
I don't know the for sure reason why they didn't accept the nurse through the company, but different levels of degrees like LPN, RN, BSN. It depends on their licensure, whether they can serve students in a particular way, given medications and that kind of thing. So it depends on the extreme needs that the student needs. So the level of licensure that the nurse has is very important. Then you have to find funds to pay for this nurse to serve this one student. So there's a lot of things that go into it, and not making an excuse for anybody. It should have been taken care of. But coming from the charter world, finding funds can be difficult at times, especially when you're talking about 50 grand for a nurse to serve one student. So there's a lot of factors behind the scenes as well, not just the evidence that you see in black and white.
But you cannot let money be the issue, because the law is the law. And we have to, it doesn't matter. And the thing is, we'll say we don't have the money. You cannot say we don't have the money. And then somebody at the district level, it becomes their responsibility to reach out to the state level if there are needs beyond what you can do. But it cannot stop.
So if this happened at my school, I have 2 nurses that serve K through 12. At High Point Academy, I would have assigned one of those nurses to that student until we could have made arrangements to hire another nurse. So there are things that you can do, but no, you cannot neglect to provide the service of a student that enrolled in your school.
Have to do a temporary fix, and you can't just leave it there, but you've got to do and your temporary fix has to be a legitimate temporary fix as outlined by what the law says has to be done. So even when you do temporary fixes, Paulette made sure that, it may take away from what they're supposed to be doing, but that becomes a priority. So, when you're in leadership, just make sure that you're doing that. Excellent points. Excellent points. But this is, like Daryl said, these are real life things. These happen on a daily basis. And don't say it won't happen to you. It's when it happens to you. At some point in your career, it's going to happen.
Dr. Stedman, can I just add
Sure,
something?
absolutely.
I think one of the things that you should do as an administrator, whether you're new or veteran, is you always want to keep paper documentation. I was always so quick in my role to pick up the phone because it was easier. It fit into my tight schedule. However, you need those email messages. You need those paper trails, because when it comes down to it, that's what's going to protect you if you're ever in this situation and it becomes a he said, she said. Really, really important to just track everything, these kinds of conversations, whether it's email, some kind of paper documentation or technology documentation.
And again, document. You can't document enough. And let me tell you how important documentation is. And this has nothing to do with this case. But when I was an assistant principal, all of a sudden, these people drove up in front of the school one day, and you know how you look out the window and say, who in the world is that? Because they looked important. Well, they started walking up. Well, anyway, they were investigative people. What had happened, a child had been hit by a car on a bicycle. They came, and this was bicycle safety was taught in 3rd grade in health at that time. Now, this is many years ago. They came, and we had thankfully had saved the old lesson plan books. We collected them at the end of the year. We saved them. I was in charge of that. I had them stored in the top of my book room at the top. I had to dig through files. And no, it was 2nd grade. It was 2nd grade where it was taught, not 3rd grade, 2nd grade. I can remember the teacher. Her name was Carol Council. I had to go to find her books to see that she improved, that she had taught bicycle safety to that child that was hit. Had they not, we would have been subject to a lawsuit. So, documentation is important. Anyway, great job. I mean, a lot of good takeaways from this. We're going to move on to the next. Do you have any questions of anything, based on, again, everything's done except for this last small assignment that you've got to do after Dr. Lamb tonight, and you'll be through. So knock it out and get it over with. But I'm going to share my screen, and then Paulette, if you would send me a text message immediately and let me know if you can hear it, so that that the sound is working. I think I've got it figured out, but send me a text message from the very beginning, and if not, then I have to start all over again. And then Renee, it may be tagged, Uriah, you got to help me, okay? Okay, so I'm going to, and then hang on at the end. If your family's around you, ask them to come and join you for a few minutes. Okay, a very, very, very few minutes. It's not going to be long. Let me share. Okay. Somebody speak up. Can everybody see this? Okay, that's good. Dana, I can see your picture, so maybe that's right. Okay, so I've got to go to from the beginning, and let's see if it works. Hello. We're going to start all over. Paulette said she could not hear it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, because I want you to hear it. I want it right. Let me go to, okay, Renee, go to week 10 in Blackboard. Okay, give me a second. Okay. And there's something I'm not doing on my end. And I don't know what it is. Somebody's gonna have to teach me that. Okay, now. Let me go. I've got to make it available.
I'm there, Dr. Steph.
Okay,
Anyone else?
you are, okay, I'm going to make, I'm going to Zoom session 10.
Okay.
I'm going to make this available to students and can now see if you can get it to play with the volume, okay?
Yes, sir. I'm on it.
Okay, you take over the screen. Okay, I need to stop share. Okay,
I'm trying to pull it up now.
okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
it's taking just a minute.
That's okay. No, I want it.
All right. I got the sound going, so
Okay. I could hear it on my end.
okay. You hear it?
I cannot hear it.
I hear it. It's just a little choppy.
Is it?
It was very clear on my end.
Yeah. I can try it again.
Is it clear
So
on your end, Renee?
it is. It's clear on my end.
Okay. This is what I want everybody to do. You open it up yourselves, mute yourselves, open it up yourselves, and then I want you, it's the same thing. Listen to it, and then when it's over with, let's come back together, okay? Let's just do that. Open it up yourself and play it. Okay, everybody, you can unmute now. Okay. Could everybody hear it? Could you hear it that way? But anyway, I'm sorry. I wanted I had another thing planned, but it didn't work out. But anyway, I hope you really focused on my message at the end, because I meant that. I meant that. It meant a lot. So I would ask you to, somehow download this and put it in your file somewhere, and and keep it and refer back to it. I will keep it, as a way of always remembering you. But again, I've said it already many, many times. Hope you know you're very, very special to me, and I'm just so proud to have been a part of, this experience in your life, and I just know that all of you are going to make me proud, and you're just going to go do great. You're going to make a difference, and that's what it's all about. Be a change agent, and and make it happen. You can do it. But anyway, anything before we part ways and let you get ready to come online with Dr. Lamb? Anything from anybody?
I think we all just really appreciate you, Dr. Stedman, and everything you have taught us and have done for us. We will not forget you either. You've been a great resource for me personally, and I will miss you very much. And this
Miss all of you. And I'm a big crybaby. I don't tell you. My wife tells me all the time, I'll watch a movie with her and I'll cry right there with her. So it does. There's no shame in my game. I'll let those emotions come out too. I'm not going to hold it in. But it's always a bittersweet moment. When we have to do this. But just know, from a professional standpoint, I love and care for every one of you, and I wish you the best. Okay. So I'm going to sign off, and we'll get ready for Dr. Lamb in just a few minutes. Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Stedman.
Okay,
And
thank
I'll
you.
sign off.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Okay. Bye, Malika.